try to tell you, American people, that what we're engaged in is a rational discussion of how to use scarce taxpayer dollars to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Now, that's not true. Wish it were. The Department of Homeland Security is about to shut down. We don't know how to get it back open. What does that mean? It means ICE will be shut down. We've got some ideas about how to keep it operating. They have enough money. It means TSA will be shut down. They're not going to be paid. That'll impact airport travel. Coast Guard be shut down. FEMA, God help us if we have a natural disaster, it'll be shut down. What's about to happen is top of the list, king of the hill, number one, stupid. And it's happening just not because of policy. It's happening because of raw gut politics. If you could see what I see, your gag reflex would be permanently triggered. Here's what's going on. The Karen wing of the Democratic Party is in control of the Democratic Party. And the Karen wing of the Democratic Party, not all Democrats, but there's clearly a Karen wing. Sometimes I call them the loon wing. They have gone to the Minority Leader Jeffries and my friend Senator Schumer and said, don't you vote for that Homeland Security bill. Why? Because the Karen wing of the Democratic Party wants to defund ICE. Now, we've seen this vampire movie before. The Karen wing of the Democratic Party also wanted us to defund the police. How'd that work out for us? The criminals are still laughing. Now they want to defund ICE. And Senator Schumer and Minority Leader Jeffries, two good men, they've made a bunch of unreasonable demands that no person with a brain above a single-cell organism would vote for. It would put handcuffs on ICE. That's just a fact. And they know that. I'm not going to vote for them. I'm sure not going to vote for them with a gun to my head. Now, but I'll tell you the reality. We could go to Senator Schumer and the Minority Leader in the House and say, okay, we accept every one of your conditions. The Democrats still are not going to vote to keep DHS open. I mean, I don't blame Senator Schumer for trying, but he's kind of wandering around here like one of those Roombas. He looks like a man who's lost his luggage at the airport. I mean, he's making these demands, and if we accepted them, we're not, but if we did, he couldn't deliver the votes. Because nobody on my side of the aisle wants to defund ICE. And that's what this is all about. And some of my colleagues are trying to pretty it up. Lots of play acting. They might be late, a little late for getting their name in for the Academy Awards, but maybe next year. They're trying to muddy the water, make it look deep. Like we're having this discussion about efficiencies at the Department of Homeland Security. Nope, very simple. The Karen wing of the Democratic Party has told every single Democrat, if you don't vote to shut down DHS, if you do vote to fund ICE, we will punish you politically the rest of your natural lives. That's why we're about to have a shutdown. Now, this stuff isn't complicated. Here's what I think most Americans believe. Illegal immigration, Mr. President, is illegal. Duh. If none of us are above the law, I believe that. I bet you believe that. If no one is above the law, how come people in our country illegally are above the law? Immigration statutes are not some second-tier laws that you can violate without consequence. It's the law. If you don't like it, change it. I believe in enforcing our immigration laws. Now, how you enforce them matters. By God, you better believe it matters. Those laws have got to be enforced in conformity with equal protection and with due process and in accordance with standards set forth by the United States Supreme Court. I think it was 1968 in a very famous case called Terry v. Ohio. A cop can't stop you unless that cop has reasonable suspicion, not probable cause, reasonable suspicion to believe that you have committed, are committing, or is about to commit a crime. It's not subjective. It's an objective standard. And our cops, including but not limited to our ICE officers, have to follow it. Now, you can protest. That's fine. That's your right to protest. You don't have the right to protest violently. You don't have the right to harass an ICE officer. You don't have a right to spit in his face. You don't have a right to threaten his children. You don't have a right to get his home address and go to his house and try to harass his family. You don't have the right to block the street so the ICE officer can't get through. You don't have the right to kick out a cop's tail light. You don't have the right to go burn Christmas trees. You have the right to protest, but not violently. Because you know what? Two reasons. Violence undermines the morality that you say your movement is built upon. Dr. King knew that. That's why he wanted nonviolent protest. Gandhi knew that. President Mandela knew that in South Africa. Violence undermines the morality that you say your movement is built on. Now, there's a second reason that you can't protest violently. It's against the law. And it's bone deep, down to the marrow, stupid. If you act like a butthead with a cop or an ICE officer, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well. Here's a little tip. It's free. Cops will leave you alone unless you do illegal stuff. And that's what this debate is all about. I hope we get it worked out. I don't want to see flights stop. I don't want to see FEMA not be able to respond. I don't want to see the Coast Guard have to shut down. But the Karen wing of the Democratic Party is the cause of this. And they're going to have to accept the fact that the law is the law, or they're going to have to get the votes to change it. Because the American people see immigration like they see the front door of their home. Most Americans lock their front door at night. Why do they do that? They don't lock their front door at night because they hate everybody on the outside. They lock the front door at night because they love the people on the inside. And they want to know who's coming into and out of their home. And that's the way the American people see our borders. Legal immigration, great. We admit more people, more of our world's neighbors, to come to America and become part of us every year than any other country. And the whole world knows it. That's why everybody wants to come here. When's the last time you heard of somebody trying to sneak into China? I want to come here. It's called legal immigration. But you can't jump the line. You got to fill out the forms and be properly vetted. You can't just come in. Now, President Biden didn't follow the law. That's why we're in this mess today. We don't know how many people he let in. I'm not saying they were all bad people. I don't know them. That's the point. We don't know who they are. I don't even know the number. Anywhere from 8 million to 15 million. Some of them were bad people. But we don't have the slightest idea who they are. And we don't know where they are. And that's why we have the rule of law. And that's why we have ICE. And that's what's going on.
Thank you, Chair Murray. Senator Kennedy.
Mr. Secretary, I don't hate anybody. I look for grace wherever I can find it. And I certainly don't hate you. My chairman talked about the woolly mammoths in the room, and I'm glad he brought that up. The chairman's immigration bill was negotiated by two members of my party, Senator Langford and Senator McConnell, and I don't speak for either one. They're both good men. The chairman said that the Republicans who negotiated his bill trusted you and wanted you there. And I'm not doubting his word. It gives me no joy to say this, but most Republicans don't trust you. And a vast majority of the American people don't trust you. That's why you've been impeached. Now, my Democratic colleagues are going to try to sweep your impeachment under the rug and violate 200 years of Senate precedent in doing it. I don't think that they will be able to sweep the issue, maybe your impeachment, but not the issue, under a rug as big as the United States of America. Again, it gives me no joy in saying this. I think well more than a majority of the American people think that as a result of your behavior and President Biden's behavior, our southern border is an open, bleeding wound. I think they believe that our southern border is chaotic. I think a vast majority of the American people believe that a lot of it is political. I think a vast majority of the American people believe that it is chaotic by design, and that all of this is intentional. And I think while a vast majority of the American people who don't trust you believe in legal immigration, they don't believe in illegal immigration. And they think you do. And they think President Biden does. And they think that's why the border is open. And they think that your attitude and President Biden's attitude is that while they may be poorer under President Biden, that they're stupid enough to believe you and the president when you say that it's not your problem. I think that needed to be said. Isn't it a fact, Mr. Secretary, that the number of illegal immigrants that you and the president allow into our country counts for congressional district reapportionment?
Senator, I'm not sure I understand your question, but I can surely share with you that I disagree with its phrasing.
Isn't it true, Mr. Secretary, that the number of illegal immigrants that you and President Biden have allowed into our country counts for allocating electoral votes?
Same answer.
Okay. You don't know?
I don't understand your question.
Never crossed your mind?
The notion, Senator, that we intend to allow illegal immigration is nothing short of preposterous.
So you do understand my question?
And if I may, it is disrespectful to the extraordinarily hard work that we perform, and far more importantly, that the personnel in the Department of Homeland Security and across this administration perform to stem illegal immigration, build lawful, safe, and orderly pathways, and invest in a working system. And we only wish that bipartisan legislation, about which I have not heard a critical term,
Mr. Secretary, you're using up my time. You do this every single time. You do this every single time. And it's a fact, and you know it, and I know it, that the more people you allow into our country illegally, the more people are counted for reapportionment. And the more people that you allow into our country illegally, the more people are counted for allocating electoral votes. Now, maybe that's a coincidence, but that's a fact. And you know that. And you've done nothing for 4 years. Nada. Zero.
absolutely false.
Zilch. And in fact, the only people I know in this country who are better off today than they were 4 years ago are illegal immigrants. And that's as a result of your policy. I don't hate you for it. I don't hate anyone, but that's why you've been impeached. And my colleagues may try to cover it up. They're going to try to cover it up. But they can't cover up the facts. I've gone over my time. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peters.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, Secretary Mayorkas. It's wonderful to see you here today, and I'm going to see you again next week when you come before my committee, the Homeland and Governmental Affairs Committee, and it's good to have an opportunity to ask your...
Kennedy.
Professor, congratulations. I believe you testified that you think the Constitution should be interpreted according to its original public meaning. Is that right?
Yes, Senator.
What does original public meaning mean?
Yes, Senator. So the original part of that phrase refers to the fact that when we look at interpreting a text, we want to interpret it at the time it was.
Professor, look me in the eye and just answer my question. What does original public meaning mean?
It means the meaning that the text as it was understood by the public at the time it became law.
Okay. So you think Brown v. Board of Education was incorrectly decided?
Well, Senator, I think Brown versus Board of Education was correctly decided. Scholars who have looked at the original meaning of phrases at that time and the reasoning in that case sometimes question the reasoning of the case.
How many people in the United States of America at the time the Constitution was drafted do you think supported racial integration of schools? You think that was a majority view, do you?
Well, Senator, at the time...
But first, Professor, do you think that was a majority view? Do you think most Americans at the time the Constitution was drafted supported integration of public schools, racial integration?
Well, Senator, I don't know as as a sociological matter what percentage of people thought what at that time. I should point out that when we got to Brown versus Board of Education, of course, there had been several
But
fundamental
isn't that
amendments to the.
inconsistent with your statement that you have to interpret it according to original public meaning?
Well, what about the 14th Amendment and the 13th Amendment and the 15th Amendment? So original public meaning would mean
what
with
about
those. Well, that would mean we would interpret those amendments and those protections with the understanding of the text and structure at the time those amendments were ratified, which is different, of course, in the 19th century.
Let's go back to Brown v. Board. Look, I think Brown v. Board was correctly decided, and I suspect you do too. But if you say we interpret the Constitution according to the way that people at that time understood it, do you really think that people at that time in America supported racially integrated schools? Do you really believe that?
Well, Senator, I think at the time of the ratification of the 13th, 14th Amendment, and 15th, all which
But
have.
do you think people at that time supported integrated schools?
Well, Senator, on that particular question, I don't know it as a policy matter whether they were thinking about that particular issue. I think they certainly understood that the 14th Amendment, for which a massive part of this country essentially lost lives fighting the Civil War, certainly understood it to require racial
Professor,
equality.
You're not answering my question. I'm just trying to understand how you think. It's very easy to say, we interpret the Constitution according to its original public meaning, which as I appreciate your testimony, means the way people who read the Constitution at that time interpreted it. Is that right?
Yes, Senator.
Okay. Do you think that most people at that time looked at the United States Constitution and said, well, here it is, big as Dallas, racially integrated schools are required? Do you really believe that?
Senator, I don't know, but
And if you don't, I don't think you do, because I think historically that wasn't the case. So how do you square that with the holding of Brown v. Board?
Well, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think there are several steps in between that have not come up yet in our conversation, which is that you look at the text and structure, which of the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments clearly is requiring racial equality. And then over time, that has to be applied to different questions as they arise in context. So if the requirement is that all races be treated equally under the law, and the evidence shows that segregated schools is not doing that, then the requirement could be applied to integrate schools.
When you interpret a statute, you talked about interpreting it according to its plain meaning. What if the statute is ambiguous?
Well, Senator, if the statute...
What do you do if it's ambiguous?
If it's ambiguous on the particular question coming before the court, I start with that phrase, but I also look at the context of surrounding provisions.
No. I understand you define ambiguity as the language plus the surrounding language.
Yes.
I get that part. How ambiguous does it have to be? 51% ambiguous or just a little bit ambiguous?
So I have to say I would use the same approach essentially in all cases regardless of the ambiguity, because I would always start with the text, move to the surrounding provisions with the aim of fully understanding what Congress and the President had enacted. And only at that
Professor,
point...
I'm going to run out of time. With respect, answer my question.
Well,
okay, you're giving me professor talk. How ambiguous does it have to be?
I mean, I think under the Supreme Court's recent precedent in Chevron, it underscored that the court can never just rest and say it's ambiguous. The court has to come up with an answer.
Yeah.
So
why don't you just look at legislative history?
Well, you can't look at legislative history statements one by one because
Why not?
the individual
Why not?
intent. Well, Senator, with respect, because this body has its role in our system as an institution, not one by one. So your personal understanding of the law doesn't matter.
This will be my last question. I'm sorry. Coons went way over. So you're telling me that it doesn't help you at all to go through and look at the congressional record or read the committee reports or any of that? You don't think that's helpful in interpreting what a statute means?
It depends on the way in which it's being read. If it gives helpful statutory history, if it helps to refer to other portions of context, sure, but not to give it legally binding impact in and of itself. I would always be looking at a broad range of sources and use each of these statements as just one piece of evidence about what people understood the statute to mean at the time. So no, I would never take a piece of legislative history in isolation and give it legal impact.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Senator
Chair.
Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here today. Professor Goodwin, help me understand your point of view. I think this is a yes or no question. Do you support it being legal to abort an unborn child up to the moment of birth?
Senator Kennedy, it is not a yes or no question. I support women like Ms. Zarowski. Women across
no,
this
ma'am, I don't. I think it is a yes or no question.
No, well, let me answer.
If there were a law that's, I'm just trying to understand your perspective, and I'm not accusing you of this.
Of course not.
But you know, people sort of talk around this issue. If there were a bill that said that a woman has an unfettered right to abort an unborn baby for any reason up to the moment of birth, would you vote yes or would you vote no?
Senator Kennedy, I refuse to be shackled by your question. What I have answered is that there are conditions that occur
you don't know
during
whether
pregnancy.
You would vote yes or no?
There are conditions during pregnancy that mean after 10 weeks,
No,
14 weeks,
I said
20
unfettered
weeks,
discretion.
24 weeks,
You would
conditions
you
such
would
as Ms.
support-
Zarowski.
You're here
and
advocating.
I would support her life.
I
would
understand,
support her
too,
personhood.
But you're advocating a law.
I support her personhood.
You're advocating a law that says that an unborn baby can be aborted up to the moment of birth for any reason, are you not?
Let me clarify what the 14th Amendment says in the first sentence, that citizens of this United States are individuals that are born. That is what our Constitution says.
But
Do
why
you
won't you
support our
answer my
Constitution?
question, Professor? I'm not trying to argue. I just want to understand what your position is, and I think you're afraid to say that you do support that. If you do support it, I think you, for the purpose of an intellectual discussion, you ought to just say so.
For purposes of an intellectual discussion, I'm happy to have that with you, but
Well,
that's
then
not the tone of...
Could you answer my question? Do you support, please? I mean, you teach. Okay, I'm sure you've had students ask this question. Do you support making it legal to abort an unborn baby for any reason, up to the moment before birth?
Senator, let's have that intellectual discussion that you want.
We could start if you'd answer my question. I can't go to my
well,
next question until you answer that question.
I want you to be able to go to your second
good.
and your third
Answer it for
questions.
me.
I do. But as I have explained, there are many different conditions.
No, I said
during
unfettered
a
discretion, no conditions. I'm making it easy for you.
Well, I've already shared with you, Senator, that I
get
support
it.
women's
I don't want to use all
personhood.
my time. You're not going to
And I
answer
support
it,
Ms.
and that is your
Zarowski's
right. But I
personhood.
would respect you more if you just say, "Here's
I'm
my
sorry
answer."
that you don't respect
I
me
do
very
respect
much.
you, but I said I'd respect you more if you just answer my question. Doctor, tell me how to say your last name.
Rubenhorst.
Ms. Dr. Rubenhorst, do you support a law that would allow, for any reason, unfettered discretion, the abortion of an unborn child up until the moment of birth?
No.
You don't. Dr. Verma?
Senator Kennedy, so I'm the one doctor in this room that does provide abortion care, and I can tell you that does not reflect the reality of abortion
I
care.
understand. I'm just asking the question.
It simply doesn't
But do you
happen.
support it? There are bills before Congress that will allow that to happen. You don't support it, or are you going to not
again,
answer my question?
As the doctor in this room who does provide abortion care, that is not how abortion care in this country works. It's a hypothetical that does a disservice
But if a
to our
patient came to you and said, I'm going to probably have a baby this week and I've changed my mind, and I would like you, doctor, to abort the child, would you do it?
That is not how abortion care in this country works.
But if a patient did, would you do it?
My job as the doctor is to look at each individual situation.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but I can tell neither you nor the professor will answer my question. I think you both have an opinion, and I don't understand why you won't share it. We're going to solve this problem.
I've provided care for a few years, and I've never seen that situation.
How about you, Doc? Would you?
I do not support unfettered abortion, and I would like to point out that if a woman did have a life-threatening condition in pregnancy past approximately 22 weeks, that baby can be delivered alive by induction or C-section, and we can try to save that baby. The intent of abortion is a dead baby, and that is not necessary in that situation.
I want you to all understand where I'm coming from. This is a tough issue. And it's a tough issue because there's some tough questions we've got to answer. And when you won't answer the questions, when you're invited by my Democratic friends, the majority, and you won't answer the most fundamental question, we've got a bill in front of us that will basically say a woman has the unfettered right to abort at any time for any reason up to the moment of birth. And that's a gut check issue. And I would expect you as experts to answer that truthfully, how you do it. Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Ossoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to all of the witnesses for joining us and sharing your experiences and perspective. It's been tremendously impactful to hear from you. And Mr. Chairman, I do want to note and acknowledge that we have a Georgia physician with us, and Dr. Verma. Thank you for your work providing health care for Georgia women at a time when...
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Professor Schwartz, you're a professor at the University of Minnesota.
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful state, by the way. Wonderful state.
It's a wonderful state.
Some people in your beautiful state went to your state Medicaid department and said, we want some taxpayer money, some being state taxpayer money, some being federal taxpayer money, to feed the poor. And these entities that did that got the money. And then they stole it. But to help cover their tracks, well, before I go there, do you think those people should be prosecuted?
I think if there is reason to pursue prosecution, of course they should be prosecuted.
Okay. Do you think their ethnicity should matter?
The ethnicity of these people should not matter.
Okay.
Not a bit.
Now, some of these thieves also went to some restaurants and said, I need a fictitious invoice that you fed 100 people. You're not going to feed 100 people. You're just going to help me steal the money, and I'll kick back some of the money to you. Do you think those restaurant thieves should be prosecuted?
I think if they have committed crimes, they should be prosecuted.
Regardless of their ethnicity?
Regardless of their ethnicity.
Okay. You had some other people in Minnesota who had a different scam. They went to the Medicaid department and said, I need state taxpayer money and federal taxpayer money to provide services to autistic children. And they got the money. And then to maximize the fruits of their theft, they went to well, first, do you think those people who...
Same answer to the question.
Okay. Now, in order to to generate more money they could steal, they went to some families and said, "Do you have children?" And some of the families said, "Yeah, we have kids." And they said, the thieves said, "Are your children autistic?" And they said, "Well, no." And the thief said, "Well, would you agree to sign paperwork to say they're autistic if we kick back to you some of the money?" Do you think those families should be prosecuted?
Same answer.
Okay. And you don't think their ethnicity should matter?
Not a bit.
Okay. All right, is it Hankerson?
Hankinson, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hankinson. Did I understand you to say that you have studied immigrant communities throughout the United States in terms of fraud levels on social services?
Not specifically, no. I've done visa interviews in many countries, tens of thousands of them, and I've looked at reports about fraud levels.
I misunderstood you. I'm sorry about that. It's been a long day. Mr. Beyer, am I saying your name right?
It's Mr. Beer.
Mr. Beer. I like beer better.
Most people do.
Tell me that, I think I heard you say that some people, some folks who've come to our country and are trying to get status to stay, have applied to the Department of Health of DHS, and they've paid money, and DHS is doing nothing?
Oh, that's right. Yep, they're sitting on their applications, not processing them.
That's a pretty bold statement. How many people? I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't know. How many people we're talking about?
About half of the immigrant flow right now.
So
90 countries are affected by the State Department ban.
How many people is that?
Well, it's at least 300,000 abroad and probably twice that when you consider the people already in the U.S.
So you're saying that 300,000 folks have gone to DHS to seek some kind of permanent status or semi-permanent status to stay. At least 300,000, and they paid money to DHS, and DHS has done nothing. Is that what?
That's right. Yeah, they're sitting on their applications.
Well, who at DHS is
putting
doing
them in the
this?
trash?
Who at DHS is doing this?
Oh, it's Joseph Edlow. He's
Who
in
is
charge of it.
Edlow?
He came up with this policy to just.
Who is he?
He's the head of USCIS. Joseph Edlow is the head of USCIS. He came up with this
He's
policy
at DHS?
where he is just.
Slow down a minute, man.
he's
You've
just-
had too much coffee. He's at DHS?
I'm just from New Jersey. So.
I understand. Great state, too. Who does he report to?
Secretary Noem, of course.
Okay. Does Secretary Noem know whether this?
I don't know what Secretary Noem knows, but she's aware of the general tenor of this administration.
What's his name?
Joseph Edlow.
Mr. Edlow. Who's his boss?
Secretary Noem.
Oh, okay. And you can document all this?
Oh, absolutely. They put out a memorandum saying we're not processing these people, and Secretary Rubio's involved as well when it comes to the State Department.
Would you send me that memo, please?
I will absolutely send that to you.
I went way over. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, John.
I appreciate that.
Senator Kennedy, I'm informed that USCIS is slowing adjudication because of the huge backlog and the lack of vetting of these migrants during the Biden administration is the reason that we've been given.
Yeah, I don't know. I just heard Mr. Beer, and I'm not saying he's right or wrong. Those are pretty bold allegations that they're taking the money and they're not doing anything, and I just want to know if it's true or not.
Well, they're making sure that these people are vetted, so we don't end up with people like the National Guards woman here in Washington, D.C. that was killed by an African.
I don't have a problem with vetting. I just want to know whether what the witness is saying is true. No,
they're not adjudicating them.
Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much, Chairman, Ranking Member Padilla. I believe that people who break the law have to go to jail, and people who steal taxpayer money have to go to jail.
House. Senator Kennedy.
Mr. Olson. I believe I looked at your resume. You are an elder in the Reformed Presbyterian Church of North America. Is that correct?
I am an ordained elder in the RPCNA. I am not actively serving.
In August of 2015, you gave a sermon at the Second Reformed Presbyterian Church. Do you remember that?
2015, I think that might have been a Sunday school lecture, but I spoke, yes.
During that sermon, you said that marriage was not intended for all people, including, and I'm going to quote your words, our handicapped friends are our persons with physical disabilities that might prevent the robust marriage that we're called to, close quote. Did you say that?
I think I did, Senator, yes.
You believe that folks with handicaps and physical disabilities should not be able to marry?
No, Senator. I was explaining the meaning of Christ's words that some, to use Christ's terms, are eunuchs by birth, and explaining that the meaning of that verse in the context of those who are called to singleness, and that there are various reasons why individuals don't get married.
But what about folks who are handicapped or who have developmental disabilities?
I was using that example as an illustration of why some don't get married, not as a kind of reason why someone shouldn't. It was illustrative of the condition in which some find themselves, but certainly not in any stretch of the imagination suggesting that they couldn't or shouldn't, merely that in some cases they don't.
On July 24, 2022, you gave another sermon at the Columbia Reformed Presbyterian Church. Do you remember that?
The Columbus Reformed Presbyterian Church, yes.
You were speaking about sexuality, is that correct?
I gave 2 sermons at that church, and the main topic of both of those was not human sexuality.
In one of them you said, quote, transgenderism, homosexuality, fornication, and all sorts of sexual perversions was a form of hypocrisy from, quote, your words, shame on the inside. Did you say that?
I don't recall the precise wording, but that sounds
What did you
familiar.
mean by that?
Yeah, Senator, thanks for the opportunity to clarify that. So I was preaching a sermon on a passage in the Old Testament about an Old Testament King Uzziah who was stricken with leprosy.
I don't have a lot of time, Counselor. Tell me what you meant by that.
Sure, that many...
You believe that fornication is a form of sexual perversion?
Senator, my personal views, my religious views, what I was speaking at that time were for the edification of the people that I was preaching to. As a judge sitting here today, my obligation is to apply the rule of law.
Yeah, I understand that, but my obligation is to try to understand you, because this is a lifetime appointment. Do you believe that fornication, which I assume you mean by that the sex act, is a form of sexual perversion?
Senator, the doctrine of the church that I was at does state that fornication is a sin.
Well, what do you mean by fornication?
Any sexual act outside the bounds of marriage.
Okay. So you believe premarital sex is a sexual perversion?
Senator, my personal views, as many have said before, I won't comment, but the doctrine of the church that I belong to would...
Is it your doctrine?
I took, as an elder, I took a vow.
Is it your doctrine?
As an elder of the RPCA...
Is it your doctrine?
Senator, my personal views as a judge are not the object of what I would rule upon.
Give me one more minute, please, Mr. Chairman. On August the 23rd, 2015, you spoke in Sunday school, and you said, quote, "I'm not saying women can't have careers. That's not what I'm saying." No, strike that. I'm reading the wrong quote. I apologize. In your talks at your Sunday school, you said that God, quote, has called wives to be subject to their husband, end quote, and to, quote, serve the good of your husband and support his calling, close quote. Did you say that?
Again, I gave a couple Sunday school lectures around that time. I don't recall the particular one, but I think I recall saying something along those lines.
What did you mean by that?
So in Christian marriage, as explained by the apostles, I was describing our church's understanding of what Christian marriage ought to look like.
And you believe Christian marriage provides that women have to be subservient to their husbands?
Senator, I think I was quoting either a passage in Ephesians or those are not my words. Those are words in the scriptures.
Well, you said them. Do you believe them?
Senator, I believe every word of the Bible.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Olson, can I just follow up on that, since he raised interesting questions, but let me just ask you, you're an ordained elder.
Watch till the end. Senator John Kennedy just destroyed them again. In just the last few months, Senator John Kennedy has gone viral for absolutely roasting nominees, exposing lies, and asking the questions nobody else dares to ask. From grilling a judge nominee with "look me in the eye," to ask if abortion should be allowed up to birth, to calling out the DHS secretary with the savage Karen Wing line, Kennedy doesn't hold back. These are the most brutal, funniest, and most powerful John Kennedy moments you need to see. If you love straight talk, smash that like button and stay till the end. You don't want to miss.
Ask for an additional 15 minutes to make my remarks.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about a couple of different topics. First, I want to try to explain to the American people what's going on around here. Some people are going to try to tell you, American people, that what we're engaged in is a rational discussion of how to use scarce taxpayer dollars to fund the Department of Homeland Security. Now, that's not true. Wish it were. The Department of Homeland Security is about to shut down. We don't know how to get it back open. What does that mean? It means ICE will be shut down. We've got some ideas about how to keep it operating. They have enough money. It means TSA will be shut down. They're not going to be paid. That'll impact airport travel. Coast Guard be shut down. FEMA, God help us if we have a natural disaster, it'll be shut down. What's about to happen is top of the list, king of the hill, number one, stupid. And it's happening just not because of policy. It's happening because of raw gut politics. If you could see what I see, your gag reflex would be permanently triggered. Here's what's going on. The Karen wing of the Democratic Party is in control of the Democratic Party. And the Karen wing of the Democratic Party, not all Democrats, but there's clearly a Karen wing. Sometimes I call them the loon wing. They have gone to the Minority Leader Jeffries and my friend Senator Schumer and said, don't you vote for that Homeland Security bill. Why? Because the Karen wing of the Democratic Party wants to defund ICE. Now, we've seen this vampire movie before. The Karen wing of the Democratic Party also wanted us to defund the police. How'd that work out for us? The criminals are still laughing. Now they want to defund ICE. And Senator Schumer and Minority Leader Jeffries, two good men, they've made a bunch of unreasonable demands that no person with a brain above a single-cell organism would vote for. It would put handcuffs on ICE. That's just a fact. And they know that. I'm not going to vote for them. I'm sure not going to vote for them with a gun to my head. Now, but I'll tell you the reality. We could go to Senator Schumer and the Minority Leader in the House and say, okay, we accept every one of your conditions. The Democrats still are not going to vote to keep DHS open. I mean, I don't blame Senator Schumer for trying, but he's kind of wandering around here like one of those Roombas. He looks like a man who's lost his luggage at the airport. I mean, he's making these demands, and if we accepted them, we're not, but if we did, he couldn't deliver the votes. Because nobody on my side of the aisle wants to defund ICE. And that's what this is all about. And some of my colleagues are trying to pretty it up. Lots of play acting. They might be late, a little late for getting their name in for the Academy Awards, but maybe next year. They're trying to muddy the water, make it look deep. Like we're having this discussion about efficiencies at the Department of Homeland Security. Nope, very simple. The Karen wing of the Democratic Party has told every single Democrat, if you don't vote to shut down DHS, if you do vote to fund ICE, we will punish you politically the rest of your natural lives. That's why we're about to have a shutdown. Now, this stuff isn't complicated. Here's what I think most Americans believe. Illegal immigration, Mr. President, is illegal. Duh. If none of us are above the law, I believe that. I bet you believe that. If no one is above the law, how come people in our country illegally are above the law? Immigration statutes are not some second-tier laws that you can violate without consequence. It's the law. If you don't like it, change it. I believe in enforcing our immigration laws. Now, how you enforce them matters. By God, you better believe it matters. Those laws have got to be enforced in conformity with equal protection and with due process and in accordance with standards set forth by the United States Supreme Court. I think it was 1968 in a very famous case called Terry v. Ohio. A cop can't stop you unless that cop has reasonable suspicion, not probable cause, reasonable suspicion to believe that you have committed, are committing, or is about to commit a crime. It's not subjective. It's an objective standard. And our cops, including but not limited to our ICE officers, have to follow it. Now, you can protest. That's fine. That's your right to protest. You don't have the right to protest violently. You don't have the right to harass an ICE officer. You don't have a right to spit in his face. You don't have a right to threaten his children. You don't have a right to get his home address and go to his house and try to harass his family. You don't have the right to block the street so the ICE officer can't get through. You don't have the right to kick out a cop's tail light. You don't have the right to go burn Christmas trees. You have the